Friday, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker dropped, giving us 11 theatrically released live action Star Wars movies. So today is the perfect time to stop and rank them all from worst to best. And coming in at number 11, I got Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. This is probably everyone's most hated Star Wars movie. A lot of people go between this and The Phantom Menace. I had to go with this because not only is this one, it's very, very boring. Until the end scene, the Coliseum, this movie is just so dull and boring. Of course, Ewan McGregor's in this movie, and he is probably one of the best parts about this entire trilogy of the prequels. But a lot of it is just so dull. Like, he's off on some planet trying to find out what's happening with the droids. Of course, you get Jango Fett, and he's alright. He's not like amazing as like Boba Fett is a lot better than him. Even Boba Fett doesn't do much, but he's still a lot better than Jango Fett. And then you got Anakin and Padme on kind of a romantic trip together, which is just so dull. And just Anakin Skywalker is just so dull. I know I keep saying dull, but that's what this movie is to me. It's just such a dull movie. Like, they go on these plans of romantic trips, and then they go back to Tatooine, and you get a good fun. Like, it's a very dark moment. You can see the turn of him becoming Darth Vader in the scene when he goes to rescue his mother, but accidentally his mom dies, and he goes berserk and he kills them all. And it's such a dark scene. I would have loved it if we actually got to see that scene, rather than like we see him kill one. I'm pretty sure it's one, and then it goes back and he's saying it to Padme. And I would have loved to actually see that scene. I don't understand why George Lucas decided not to show that scene, because that was such an important scene to show his his journey to becoming Darth Vader, as just killing people out of pure revenge. It would have been a very important moment for him to actually use it there, which I don't really understand why he decided not to. But as I said, the Coliseum scene at the very end, it's very entertaining. There are shots of it that is very weak because of the CGI, and there's shots of it you're like, okay, like all of a sudden Padme gets ripped across the chest just to show a bit of skin, which I thought, okay. But there is a lot, the elements of that scene, it is seeing all the Jedi fighting, it was a great scene. And then all of a sudden then we see the fight at the end with, you see Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I think it's Count Dooku. I'm pretty sure it's Count Dooku. That fight scene when Anakin gets his arm chopped off, even though I know it's coming every single time, I do get shocked. And coming in at number 10, I got Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Disney's first attempt at a kind of spin-off movie. I thought, the first time I seen this twice. First time in cinema, I thought this was fantastic. As soon as I finished this, I went straight home and watched A New Hope. I thought, this leads into it brilliantly, which it does. It leads into A New Hope brilliantly, but this movie itself, I thought it was so bland. I rewatched it leading up to this whole ranking, and I had to space it out over 3 days, because I just found this movie to be so boring. I couldn't get over, especially that scene at the end of Darth Vader is such a fun scene. It's like fun just to see Darth Vader be loose, but even that, he's not really as loose as I would like him to be. He's not really in this movie as much as I was hoping it would be. I don't remember, the marketing wasn't really advertising him much, but I was just kind of assuming, okay, this is they got Darth Vader, why wouldn't they use Darth Vader? So I was kind of a bit surprised and a bit disappointed they actually didn't use Darth Vader. And all these characters from the final mission, I remember only about 3 characters, but then I found out there's like 7 or 8 in there. I was shocked at how many people were actually in the fight scene. Jyn Erso was the only one, and K2SO were the only characters I actually remembered in this movie before rewatching. I remember K2SO had his person, I think it's Cassian Andor, but even that, I knew he was there, but I just didn't care. I completely forgot about him. I think this movie is just so unmemorable. Of course, the end fight scene at the end is it's phenomenal. It's such an incredible fight scene, and the cinematography in this movie is gorgeous, especially when you see the stormtroopers on the beach. But other than that, I think the story is just very forgettable. It's not one, if I want to watch a Star Wars movie, this is probably down the bottom of my list. Like, I would much rather watch Attack of the Clones rather than this, just because Attack of the Clones feels very Star Warsy. You get Anakin Skywalker, you get all these recognizable Star Wars characters, and then I never have an ambition to go back and watch Rogue One. Even I said it came out in 2016. We're in 2019 now. It's been 3 years since this movie came out. I haven't seen it since the cinema, because I really did not care to watch this movie, and now I don't really have any ambition to really go back anytime soon to watch this movie. And coming in at number 9, I've got Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. When it comes to The Phantom Menace, I always kind of think, oh yeah, I don't like this movie. But every time I go back and watch it, I'm like, yeah, this movie, it's got really enjoyable qualities. Like, Darth Maul is one of the best Star Wars characters. I love Darth Maul. Even though he doesn't say much, he's just such an intimidating fight. Even the fight scene at the end with him, Mace Windu, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, even though he doesn't say anything, he doesn't say a word, he's just so intimidating. And when he kills Qui-Gon Jinn, even though every time, as I said, when Anakin gets his hand chopped off, every time I get shocked. Every time Qui-Gon Jinn gets shot, every time he gets stabbed through his chest, I always lose my breath. Like, oh crap, I know it's coming, but I always just forget how quickly in this fight it actually happens. I always can't get over how quickly he actually dies. And Obi-Wan, there's scenes like I thought like, oh my god, Obi-Wan, how's he gonna get out of this? And I always forget how he gets out of it because I don't see this movie very often, so I always kind of have to refresh my memory as I'm watching it because I always forget how he gets out of these scenes. So that fight scene at the very end is such a memorable fight scene. No, sorry, it's not very. It's very entertaining. I always forget how to get. I always know how it ends, but I always forget how it happens. So I always love going back and watching that fight scene again. As well, the whole pod racing thing. A lot of people don't like the pod racing. I find it enjoyable. I think it's such an entertaining, especially seeing Anakin Skywalker. I enjoy seeing him and how happy he is doing the pod racing because it's not something you ever would have thought you'd see in a Star Wars movie. And the fact that they take probably about 20-30 minutes out of this movie to do that, I find it's not the worst. It's entertaining. Jar Jar Binks, everyone hates him. I find him. I don't like him. I do not like Jar Jar Binks, but the fact that he's so hated and how irritating, I find him funny how irritating he is, which he was kind of meant to be. He was meant to be a comic relief, and I do find him irritating. Like every time he does something stupid, I roll my eyes, but I still find it funny. I still think how ridiculous Jar Jar Binks is. I find that funny, and just the whole Anakin Skywalker being younger. I don't agree. He shouldn't have been younger. I don't understand why they made him younger, but I think young Anakin Skywalker, his lines are very weird. I don't blame the actor. I blame George Lucas for that because he wrote those lines. So I don't understand when people are taking their anger out on Anakin Skywalker, on the actor, when he didn't write those lines. So I don't really understand it. And the scene at the end, when you see, you see, what's his name? Mace Windu. He's talking to Yoda and he's saying, oh, there's a Sith. We don't know if we killed the master or if we killed the apprentice. And it just zooms out and it shows Palpatine there smiling. I love that scene. I love how that's how the movie ends. This whole movie, it does have a lot of problems, but there's a lot of enjoyable qualities in this movie for me. And coming in at number 8, I've got Solo: A Star Wars Story. When this movie was announced, I was never intrigued. From the minute I seen trailers, I was never intrigued. Especially because these trailers, from memory, they came out about 2-3 months before the movie came out, so I was a bit worried, like, oh crap, they have no faith in this. I had no interest whatsoever in this movie, but I find this movie to be very entertaining. I think if you took it as like, this isn't Han Solo, it's a lot better. I think the whole, like, the twist reveal at the end, which, okay, it came out a year ago, spoilers are okay now, that Darth Maul was in this movie. I was like, remember when that scene came up, I was like shocked, because I did not expect to see him in this movie. As well, I can't remember, Emilia Clarke in this movie, she's really good in it. I didn't, like, the first time I watched it, it took me ages, like, is that Emilia Clarke? Because I only seen her as a blonde, and see her as brunette. It just took me ages to realize it actually was Emilia Clarke. I don't know the actor's name. The guy plays Han Solo. He plays him really well. Surprisingly, he played him a lot well than I was actually expecting him to. Because I didn't expect someone to be able to capture what Harrison Ford captured so well, but he does. He plays him. It doesn't 100% feel like a younger version of Harrison Ford's Han Solo, but he feels very similar. He seems very close. It seems like add a couple of more years on, and he could be Harrison Ford because he's very obnoxious. He's very cocky. He's very sure of himself, which is what Han Solo is. And the whole Chewie, how he met, I like how they met. How we got his name, I wasn't a fan of. How much they kind of shoved the dice in our face, I wasn't really a fan of. Lando, what's his name? Donald Glover playing Lando, that was fantastic. I enjoyed that so much, especially when he's in the ship, when they're all on Kessel and he's in the ship writing his memoirs. I'm like, oh, this is what you need. I love that. Woody Harrelson in this movie, he doesn't really stand out compared to everyone else, which is very odd that Woody Harrelson does not stand out in a movie, but everyone else, I think everyone else kind of overshadows him in this movie, even though he's such a major character. He's not really a major character, he's a major character, but he's just such a major actor. Like, he's a bigger actor than all of these, and I just kind of think that he kind of steps to the background and lets all these people stand forward. I thought that was great. As well, you've got, I don't know his name, but the actor who plays Vision as the villain in this movie, seeing him in that light, I thought was just really weird to see him play a villain, which I've never actually seen before. And coming in at number 7, the reason we are doing this ranking today is Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. It kind of really disappoints me that this movie is so low on my list, because I really wanted this to be my number 1. I knew it was never going to be number 1, but I kind of wanted it to be very high up in this list, because I love Star Wars. I don't want to know that the saga ended so low on my list, because I do have problems with it. There's loads I do love, there's loads I don't like, and I feel I'm right down the middle, and I don't know which way I'm going to go, because I haven't seen it a second time. I really want to see it a second time just to see if I do like it more or like it less, because there's many elements I don't like. I really don't like Palpatine in this movie. I think Palpatine is the worst he's ever been, and Palpatine was in 1, 2, 3, 4. He wasn't in 4, he was in 5 and 6, and the fact that this is his worst, they finished it off this way. I don't like. I imagine this isn't going to be the end. I say we're going to get more in 10, 15, 20 years. We're going to see these characters again. I don't imagine this is the end of the Skywalker saga. Even if they keep insisting that it is, I don't imagine that this actually is the end. But as I said, there is many elements I like. I liked the relationship between Leia and Rey. I thought they had such a good, really strong bond. I thought all the relationships with our kind of heroes I thought were phenomenal. Like Poe and Finn, they actually, the bromance that they kind of started in The Force Awakens and that we didn't get in The Last Jedi, it was very strong in this movie, and it was so believable. It felt like these two were best friends, and I actually really enjoyed it. So there was many elements to like this movie, but I also did have loads of problems, and it's kind of very hard to get into the problems without going to spoilers. So if you want to see my whole full takes in this movies, I have a spoiler review, so you can go and watch that. And coming in at number 6, I've got Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith. This movie it's a lot better than some people give it credit for. It's by far the best of the prequels by like a good bit. It's a lot better than the other two. But the turn to see Anakin going into Darth Vader is phenomenal. Seeing his fight scene at the end with Obi-Wan, even though it does go on a little bit long, it's just such an enjoyable fight scene. It's not one, like, there is scenes that, like, as soon as we go into lava, that's when it's like, okay, maybe you should start to wrap this up a little bit because it's going on a little bit long. But seeing him in the ground with the lava burning on him, screaming, I hate you towards Obi-Wan, and that hatred keeping him alive to become Darth Vader is just, it's such an incredible way of showing his transformation as Darth Vader. I don't know if a lot of people enjoy this transformation as much as I do, because I just thought, and then seeing the mask come down and you can kind of see the fear in his eyes, like, oh crap, what is happening to me? It's phenomenal. The death of Padme, I'm not really a massive fan of. Everyone says it's of a broken heart. I don't think it's obviously, I think Palpatine did kill her, but I'm not really a fan of, just, it felt like a weird, like, okay, Luke and Leia, they're not together, their mother has to die, how are we going to kill her? Oh, it's Palpatine did it. It kind of feels like an afterthought rather than it was always planned that Palpatine kill her. It doesn't feel like it was ever planned out, because if Palpatine was just going to kill her, why didn't he do it before instead of putting all these assassination attempts on her? So that kind of thing, I'm like, okay, that's where I kind of think, like, okay, maybe he kind of left it as an afterthought of how she was going to die. But not only that, this movie is just, it's great. Seeing Anakin, like, even before he has that fight with Obi-Wan Kenobi, seeing his mind being twisted by Palpatine slowly throughout this movie, it's great. And when they're in that scene at some kind of concert and they're talking about Darth Plagueis, it's just, and you hear the story, and then he goes and he starts killing the Jedi, and Order 66, every time I hear from him to say do Order 66, I get like, oh my god, it is heartbreaking to watch that scene. Just seeing the Jedi, they're fighting along with the droids, or not the droids, the clones, and all of a sudden the clones turn on them and they start to kill them. It's a very hard scene to watch. Even though that's probably, I think that's more towards the end of the movie, but right then that's where, like, okay, this is when this movie gets real. This is when this movie gets, like, from that point onwards, Order 66 onwards, that's when the movie gets great. When you see Anakin becoming Darth Vader, when he is Anakin, he still looks like Anakin, but he is Darth Vader, going and killing the younglings. Everything about this movie, it's just phenomenal. And seeing, and the last 15-20 minutes, when it's just kind of wrapping everything up, going on to setting up for A New Hope, it brings it in very well. You kind of see, like, you get that ship at the end where it actually feels like a Star Wars set, when you get Obi-Wan, Yoda, and General Organa talking about what they're going to do, which is great. And then you see Obi-Wan giving Luke to Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, and it kind of finishes looking over at the sun, as like A New Hope realistically really did start with Luke looking over the sun. I thought that was a great way to end this movie. And coming in at number 5, I've got Episode 7, Star Wars The Force Awakens. This movie, I really enjoy this movie. This is a movie that it's such an easy watch for me. I can just put it on at any time and watch it. But my problem with it, and why it's low enough on my list, is just because it is so familiar to A New Hope. It's so familiar to A New Hope that it kind of puts it down a bit because of that. Even though it does have a lot of story arcs that are very different, it's just the whole kind of thing, it is A New Hope in a way, so it kind of puts it down a bit for me. But Han Solo in this movie is the best Han Solo has ever been. I think he's my favorite. He's my favorite character in this movie, and he's my favorite Han Solo. Of all the 4 movies he was in, this is my favorite of Han Solo. You got the new characters of Rey and Finn. For Finn, he's alright. Rey's okay. Poe Dameron, they're all okay in this movie. They all really come into it in Rise of Skywalker for me. And this movie is really setting the scene, and they're all right. Snoke himself, he's a very intriguing villain, as well as Kylo Ren is probably the one that he's the best of new characters, and he was the best of new characters for all 3 of these movies. And just to see his dynamic of how he's just coming to everything, how he's trying to realize stuff. And then at the end, when he kills his father, I was like, holy shit. Like when Chewie screams, I wanted to scream with it. Just feels like, oh my god, I can't believe he chose to do that. Even though in the moment it was very obvious and it was spoiled for me, so I knew this is where it was going to happen. I was still like, oh no, don't do it. I don't do it. I know it's going to happen. Please don't do it. Don't do it. I'm like, oh, maybe it might happen. Maybe they won't kill Han Solo. And they kill him. Like, oh my god. I just wanted to scream with Chewie because I just couldn't get over how powerful it was. As well, this movie has a lot of like fan service moments, and they're good. I'm a fan, so do service me. So I thought all that kind of stuff was good, but it comes to a point like why? Like Anakin's lightsaber being with Maz Kanata, like how does she have it? I love the scene when they're running though, and then Finn's like, oh, let's get that ship, and she goes, no, that ship is garbage, and the other ship they're running to blows up, so they go, okay, the garbage will do, and it just shows the Millennium Falcon, and you hear the Star Wars theme song playing. It's just like every time that I see that scene, it just puts the biggest grin on my face. Coming in at number 4, I've got Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Right here, you see, I got my Jabba the Hutt and Slave Leia for obvious reasons. But this movie, the first act of this movie, when it is the whole Jabba the Hutt scene, it's good, but it also feels very like, why is this part of the movie? Because it's not really, the rest of the movie isn't about Jabba the Hutt. None of this trilogy has been about Jabba the Hutt. It feels very much like, oh yeah, Han Solo, Harrison Ford wasn't sure if he wanted to come back for Episode 6, so let's freeze him in carbonite, and he goes, oh wait, no, he is coming back for Episode 6, so let's make a mission to get Han Solo back. So it kind of felt like a big side mission rather than something that was important to the story, because none of this trilogy was part of that. So that's why this movie, the first half is very, it's a very entertaining scene. I do enjoy the first half, but it feels very off topic as well. Throughout this movie, it's probably the most childish, most kiddie like of the trilogy, where you got the Ewoks, which I don't mind the Ewoks, but they're very childish as well. Just it's not as dark like in this. Like in Empire Strikes Back, Luke gets his hand chopped off, like he does to Darth Vader, but just in this movie, it just doesn't feel as like dark as the first two were. It does have great moments of like the throne sequence at the end of the movie when you've got Luke and Vader fighting and the Emperor just smiling, saying good, shred it. It's great. Luke being lightning to the ground and Vader looking back, and you just know he's thinking, no, we didn't need George Lucas to tell us he was saying no, but him looking back, and you can tell he's just very much like, oh, this is not right. I can't do this. And he picks up the Emperor and throws him over. I was just, oh, such a great way to end. And the movie ending, and you get to see Vader's face for the first time. Every time I see him, like, just his face is just destroyed. I always can't get over how bad his face was. And seeing all our heroes celebrating at the end together, seeing the death of Yoda in this movie, it feels like the only reason they put Yoda in this movie was just to confirm, like, oh yeah, Vader is your father. Just because you can't really believe the bad guy, he could have been lying, so they needed Yoda to confirm that. And his death, I understand his death. He wasn't over 9 years old, or 900 years old, but just felt like, oh yeah, how are we gonna get rid of Yoda? Just kill him. I like it. I wish Yoda didn't die. I love Yoda. I didn't want to see him die. But other than that, this movie, it's very watchable. It's very rewatchable. But if judged by the original trilogy, it's weakest by a good bit. And coming in at number 3, this is going to be an extremely controversial pick, but Star Wars The Last Jedi. I really, really love The Last Jedi. The first time I seen it in cinema, I really enjoyed it, and then I hadn't seen it in so long because the fan base just were so toxic. I just really didn't want to go back to this movie, because I remember loving it. I'm like, I don't want to go back and then not enjoy it because the fan base has just been beating me over the head and hearing about how bad this movie was. But then I said, before I do this rank, I'm going to have to go back and rewatch it. And I rewatched it the other day, and bloody hell, this movie's fantastic. I love the cinematography in this movie alone. Is absolutely stunning, especially on the end of this movie when they're on the sand planet. It's gorgeous. What they did with Luke, a lot of people don't like. I think it's a good graduation of how Luke would go, because it's 35 years later, and we don't know. We haven't seen Luke. We don't know what happened to him. We know what happened to him, but we don't know how he reacted to it. So to see it in this way, it made a lot of sense that could be how Luke reacted. Seeing the twist of actually Adam Driver's Kylo Ren killing Snoke, I was shocked. The amount that she fell to the floor, I did not think that was what was going to happen in this movie. And Adam Driver as Kylo Ren in this movie, he's actually brilliant. He's such a good actor. I can't get over how good he is, especially as Kylo Ren. He's a villain where I know I shouldn't like him, because literally I seen the last movie we seen him kill Han Solo. But now I'm like, oh no, I like him. I can't help but like this guy, because he's such a good actor. I couldn't get over how well the character was, and like, even though I could feel him just battling with himself, like he knew what he did was wrong, but he also knows he can't go back now because of what he did, so he feels like he has to stay. And I just couldn't get over how well this story was. Rey in this movie, she's good. She can be a bit annoying. The way she says Master Luke all the time, or not Master Luke, Master Skywalker, it kind of got on my nerves a bit. Like, will you shut up? As well, the biggest thing about this movie is the whole Finn and Rose storyline, and I don't like it. I remember that first time not liking it, and I liked it even less this time. The character of Rose herself, I don't like. I found her to be so irritating. I don't like her character, like, whatsoever. Nothing about her character is interesting to me. And at the end of herself, when she blocks Finn from sacrificing himself, which I wanted to happen. Like, I like Finn, but I thought that sacrifice would have been such a more rewarding experience for him to sacrifice himself to destroy that Death Star cannon. But then she did that. Oh no! And then when she says, "The way we survive is by love." I'm like, oh my god, did she actually just say that? She just met this guy. What is wrong with her? And that's when I really felt really off about that. The whole storyline I just don't like. But other than that, Luke's sacrifice at the end, I didn't see that coming. When that actually happened, I was like, oh my fucking god, I did not expect that at all. I was shocked to see that twist. I'm really glad that's a twist that was not spoiled for me. So there's a lot about this movie I love. I understand some of the reasons why a lot of people don't like it, but this movie for me, I just think is amazing. I actually love this movie. And coming at number 2, my runner-up, I was going back and forth in this a lot, like, for episode 4 or episode 5, but I said no, episode 4 is my number 2. A New Hope, even though it started off this franchise, even though it is probably one of the best movies ever made, I just don't think it lives up to Empire Strikes Back. Even though Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope, even though the runtime, I think they're not 2 hours, I think they're just under 2 hours, but I don't feel the runtime at all. These are the only 2 Star Wars movies that I could put them on and 2 hours could pass by and I wouldn't feel it at all. I think they're just such fresh movies. And this movie as well, it starts off the entire franchise. So you get the introduction of Darth Vader, Princess Leia, Luke, Han, Chewie, R2, C-3PO, Obi-Wan Kenobi. All these people get introduced in this movie. And even though it's the first time you're meeting them, I know it's different because it's I've seen it so many times and I know these characters. But going back, I think this would be the best introduction because it just really throws you into this world. There's no explanation. It doesn't just kick off and by the end of this movie they're in the war, because it kicks off and they are in the war in this movie. It's such a great introduction where you're being established with these characters, but these characters are already been grown and you are being introduced to these characters as they're people in the middle of their growth. Luke Skywalker is the start of his growth, so you're kind of thrown into it with him and you're growing with Luke Skywalker. But the likes of Han and Chewie, they are already kind of established. They're not established characters, but the characters who know what they are. There's growth for them, but they know what they're doing. They know a bit of what they're doing. Where Luke is learning how to do everything. That's such a great introduction for this character. And Darth Vader is one of the best villains of all time. He's such a menacing threat, and I love the choice of James Earl Jones' voice, especially if you look at the original voice they actually had planned for him and you see the opening scene. It wouldn't have worked. It would never have worked using his voice. But James Earl Jones is by far the best choice to have play Darth Vader because his voice is just so menacing. What's his name? I can't remember. Josh Brolin, when he was casted as to play Thanos, I was like, they should have just got James Earl Jones to play him. I'm really glad they didn't because I think his voice is just so memorable as Darth Vader. I know it's Mufasa, but I hear his voice, I think Darth Vader. If they got him to play Thanos, it wouldn't have been as good because I would have been thinking of Darth Vader the entire time. Anyways, the sequences in this movie, like when they're going to get the Death Star, when they're going to the Death Star to rescue Princess Leia, the entire thing is great. Like the banter these characters have back and forth, like Han and Leia, you can tell they're not very fond of each other, but they kind of like each other. So the banter they have back and forth is phenomenal. Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, as they get introduced back to each other, it's just such a great way because you could tell there is a past there that they don't like each other, and the way of having them like battling, and you can tell the past. It's just, especially coming after the prequels, it's such a more, even though it's a very small fight, it means a lot coming after the prequels. Coming in at number 1, I've got The Empire Strikes Back. I haven't seen these movies probably in total. I haven't probably seen them about maybe since the last Jedi came out, so it's been a while since I've seen them. And upon the rewatch, I got to A New Hope. I'm like, this is amazing. There's no way The Empire Strikes Back's gonna be better than this. I'm like, oh crap, it better like at the halfway mark. This movie is phenomenal. I love everything about this movie. Like the opening scene on Hoth, even though it's a very small battle, it just feels such a large battle. It feels like the stakes are massive. As well, our kind of core group being separated, with Luke and R2 being out in Dagobah without Yoda, and then Han, Chewie, Leia, and C-3PO being on the Millennium Falcon, just trying to get somewhere while the ship is broken. It adds a lot more tension to it, to the fact that the Millennium Falcon, which is the fastest ship isn't working. It builds a lot more suspense for our characters, like, oh, what crap, what's going to happen? These are our characters, what is going to happen to them if the Millennium Falcon breaks? And it's just a great way to have a little bit more tension in this, because it seems like all throughout this movie all our characters are doing are trying to escape from places. So the fact that they're trying to escape all they can, but their ship, it's not working, so they can't escape properly, it's really good as well. You get Darth Vader being just so fuming and so annoyed about what happened at the Death Star, that he's out for revenge. The Empire itself is completely out for revenge, and he's after Luke Skywalker. And you can tell this, especially after rewatch, you can understand, hear the word Skywalker, and he's like, oh my god, that's my son. That's how you realize. You can tell upon rewatch that's what he was thinking. And that reveal at the end, every single time I hear that, my mouth just falls when he says, I am your father, and see Luke's reaction. Even though I know it's coming, even though I've seen this movie literally hundreds of times, I see that scene, I'm like, oh crap, it's coming, I know it's coming, and I just lose it every single time. The introduction of our new characters of Lando and C3PO, Yoda, and Boba Fett. Boba Fett wasn't in A New Hope. He now in the special edition he's added in, but Boba Fett was not in New Hope. So him in this movie, even though he doesn't do much, like he does a good bit, but he doesn't say much. He's very menacing. Yoda is just, I love Yoda. He's such a good introduction to this franchise, and his whole kind of story in this movie is so great as well. We do have Lando, and Lando was great. He's so suave. He's very like Han Solo, but he's just a lot more confident. And he just plays, Billy D. Williams plays it so well. I'm so glad that he actually did come back for Rise of Skywalker, because I love his character, and to see him at an older age, he's very similar to what he was back in these movies, but you can tell he has grown. It has been 35 years, so he has grown, he's matured, so you can tell there is a lot there, but you can also see that little tingle in his eye, like that, yeah, that is the same character. And the fact that they actually lose in this movie, it's something I would never expect it for our heroes to lose. Like they lose in this movie. Luke loses his hand, Han Solo gets frozen in carbonite, and they're on the Millennium Falcon not knowing what to do next. The entire part of this movie, it moves, I think it is longer than New Hope, and it doesn't feel it. It feels like such a short movie. It feels like I put it in 10 minutes later, the movie's over, and I want to watch it again, because this movie itself is just phenomenal. So that's my ranking of all the Star Wars movies. Let me know your ranking in the comments down below. Click that subscribe button so you can come back to the other movie reviews and hauls and rankings. I'm going to be doing a lot of rankings towards the end of the year now. I've got best, most disappointing, biggest surprises, best of the decade as well, which I'm really excited to do. So if you want to see all that kind of stuff, do click the subscribe button. And as always, thanks for watching.